Hi guys, it's Kara, and I did a video a couple days ago on my newest fountain pen. And this is it. It's the Monteverde Artista Crystal that I got from the Goulet Pen Company. And as a result of that video, I got a few questions about ink and ink cartridges. So I thought I would do a really quick video for some of you who are kind of trying to decide if they want to get into fountain pens and all that good stuff. So one of the questions was about changing ink colors and ink cartridges. So just to be really clear for those of you who are new, there are obviously a ton of fountain pens out there, and some of the fountain pens take only ink cartridges, which look like, let's see, some of these. I have a few different kinds sitting next to me. So this is a standard short international cartridge, which means if the pen takes these kind of cartridges, this would work in it. If it doesn't have a proprietary cartridge, there are some companies that have cartridges made specifically for their fountain pens, like Lamy. See, this is a Lamy one, so you can see the difference. Another one would be Pilot. They also make ink cartridges specifically for their own pens, so you have to buy their ink cartridge if you want to go that way. So you can see the differences. So when you're looking at a fountain pen, you want to decide first off if you're going to start with an ink cartridge or if you want to use ink from a bottle like you've seen me do once or twice on my channel. If you want to use ink from a bottle, which is way more cost effective down the road, then you want to make sure that you either get a fountain pen that has a cartridge converter or a fountain pen that is piston filled, okay? The only pen that I have that's kind of piston filled is basically this Noodler's Creeper Flex pen. And basically the piston is inside here, and so there's no real piece that comes out. So let me explain a little bit better. I have a Lamy Coral sitting here, and if I open it up, you can see that it has an ink cartridge in it. That's what I'm actually using this one. It's the Coral ink to go with the Coral pen. But I also have a Lamy that has the cartridge converter. So, and it doesn't have any ink in it. I can basically fill this up like I did the one in my new pen with any color ink and use it in this pen. So you're going to want to look and see when you're buying the pen if it accepts ink cartridges, an ink cartridge converter, or if it's piston filled. Also pay attention when you're getting your fountain pen and see whether or not the converter comes with your pen. Sometimes these little pieces right here don't actually come with the pen. They're not included and you have to buy them separately. So make sure you're checking for that when you get one of those. Now if you get a piston filled pen, that means basically it's kind of built in. It's kind of the same idea as that converter, because what happens with the converter is that you would either use a syringe like I did for this one, or you can do it while it's in the pen, and you basically use the mechanism itself, put it into the ink bottle if you're going that way, and just suck up the ink like that, kind of like a plunger. Or you could use a syringe like I did, which I'll show you again, and basically fill it up by putting it in like this, okay? A piston filled pen basically kind of has this little mechanism inside it. I mean, it's not going to be this same thing, but it kind of works the same in that, if you can see, there's a little spot in this pen, you can kind of see my hand through there, where you can see you're getting low on ink. So if you watch it, as I kind of unscrew the end, that little kind of plunger part, maybe you can see that a little bit. If I put my hand back there, you see it kind of move? That would be one way to draw up the ink. So for this particular pen, you could basically take the nib, stick it down into the ink bottle, and then use this part of the piston and draw the ink up. You can do that with this pen and other piston pens. With this particular one, If you want, you can also take a hold of the nib and the feed. The nib being this part and the feed being the black part underneath, and pull it right out. That's how, that's one really nice thing about these pens is they are very, I want to say user-friendly. You can tinker with them, and this is like $14, so you don't have to worry too terribly much about messing it up. And then if you wanted to, you could take your syringe, fill it full of ink, put that right in here, and fill it all the way up. Of course, you'd want to make sure that your plunger was all the way to the other end so you could fill up the whole thing with ink. Then you would basically just take your feed and your nib, you would line them up like this, and stick them back in. Okay, and then you might have to squeeze it a little bit or tap it a little bit to get the ink to go, but basically you could fill it up that way. Now if you fill it up by dipping it into the bottle of ink, you've already started kind of the process of getting the ink out, because the ink's going to go through the feed as you draw it up through the piston. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Just give you some of the basics about ink and how it works with fountain pens. All depends on what you're most comfortable with. I started out the first couple of pens and had cartridges. I do like the option of having more ink available to me in a bottle so that I can refill it, you know, kind of more cheaply. But again, it's up to you. I know there are even people that refill their ink cartridges when they're empty. So maybe they'll have, like, this is the Coral ink cartridge. If you have the Coral ink, you can take that little syringe, put it through the little part that gets kind of popped open when you insert it in the pen, and refill it. So I know that there are even people that do that. It's all personal preference. But basically that's the way you can change your ink out. You can change your ink colors when you're using cartridges by simply changing the cartridge. And if you're going to use a converter or a piston filled pen, then you need to clean out the pen really well. And you should really, if you change it cartridge as well, clean your pen and then you can change the color. So that's kind of the basics. I hope that helped answer the questions that a few of you had. If you have any other questions for me, or if I need to clarify something for you, let me know. Again, I just want to end by saying I am totally an amateur. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of information based on the questions that a couple people had and the little teeny bit of knowledge on fountain pens that I have. If any of you out there are more experienced with fountain pens and want to chime in and offer some other advice, that would be wonderful. I'm sure we would all appreciate it. And I think that's it, guys. As always, if you have any questions, like I said, leave them down below. And I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at. Bye, everybody.